What's up, guys? It's boy Justin here with another graphic novel review. Today we're reviewing The New Warriors Classic Volume 1. This goes for 25 US. I think I got it for 20 bucks. It's rated for all ages. That is a mistake. You'll know if you read the comic book. Which I'm gonna, well, the graphic novel. I'll explain why this is not an all ages book. Whose idea was that? This is very much T for teen. And if this was a manga, it would be for older teen, because they're swearing in the book, that's why. So yeah, this collects New Warriors issues 1 through 6, 4 issues 411 through 412, written by Fabian Nieza, with art by Mark Bagley for the New Warriors comics, and for the 4 comics, it's written by Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz, with art by Joe Sinnott. So yeah, this is New Warriors, which I've been hearing that for like the longest time, that this is like a really great comic book series, and I had to read it, right? Which there's this YouTube channel called Edgy Smurf Brownie or something. I watched his review for the Omnibus, and this sounded like a really awesome series. Also, Darksiders Comics, I'm pretty sure, also recommended this series. So yeah, I thought, oh, they had this for the longest time, and they had this and Volume 2. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll pick it up and give it a try. So it doesn't say what year these comics came out, but I think it's 1990, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So the comic book starts off with the graphic novel. Starts off with our main character, Night Thrasher, whose name is, I think his name is Dwayne Taylor. I read this in a couple of hours today. Who has no superpowers. Who is basically another Marvel Batman clone. Another Marvel Batman clone. And he's going around recruiting superheroes for his new team that he's founding. And here you see him threatening Richard Rider, who is Nova, and tosses him off a building, only for it to be a trick, because he was doing it so he could reawaken Richard Rider's powers, who lost his powers. I don't know how he lost his powers. They don't give you explanation. But yeah, he lost his powers, and by tossing him off this building, it allowed Richard Rider to get his powers back, which I really hate that name, Richard Rider, for obvious reasons, because a certain Richard is a certain nickname called Dick is like, sorry, Richard can be short. Dick can be short for Richard sometimes. So every time I see the name Richard Rider, I think the name Dick Rider. Oh my god! So that's why I don't like the name. Which they never call him Dick. But if you read the Nova series from like the 2000s, they called him Dick there a couple times. But yeah, so yeah, Nova then joins the team, which is like, oh my god, I really hate this character, Night Thrasher. The next member, the next person who joins the team is Marvel Boy, who has telekinetic powers, who is trying to join the Avengers, only for him to, like, you know, basically get turned down because he couldn't get past the security measures. Well, what a jobber he is. And it turns out like he's the ancestor of Vance Astro, the one of the members of the original Guardians of the Galaxy from the future, which apparently the Avengers know about. Which I need to pick up that Earth Shall Overcome omnibus. The next member who joins the team is Nomorita, who is the cousin of the Submariner, who has all the powers of her cousin. And yeah, here we get here we get, you know, Night Thrasher's backstory. He has these two people working for him who also train him. His base is at a penthouse apartment in Midtown Manhattan. And we find out his motivation for becoming a vigilante is because his parents died and he wants to wage a war on crime. So he's kind of like a mix of Batman and Punisher. So yeah, the next member who joins the team is Firestar, who's a mutant. That's her outside of her costumes. And you also have Speedball, which, oh my god, this is the guy who started off, who screwed up and started the Civil War that happened later on in the Marvel Universe. Which that Penance costume was pretty awesome. Which, oh my god, I need to play Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 again. So yeah, our first, there's Firestar in our costume. The first villain our characters fight is Ferreira, who was apparently was in the soil of this park that was making kids sick. That's why Namorita was there, because she's a she's a environmental activist or whatever, and that's the first threat our characters fight, which Ferreira is like, you know, cosmic level entity. There's Speedball in his costume. He's like I don't even know how to explain his powers. Basically, he's kind of like Cannonball from New Mutants. Where he can absorb kinetic. Well, he has basically powers kind of like actually Sebastian Shaw, where he can gather up, like, he can absorb kinetic energy and use that to bounce around. Which he can also use his kinetic energy for other stuff, which you see later in the graphic novel. So yeah, the first issue has our characters teaming up fighting Thorax. And it was actually a pretty cool fight. There was some actual strategic fighting and thinking. And the Avengers show up and basically kind of take the credit for everything. Yeah, they get called the New Warriors. So that's the first issue. Then we get to the Thor comics here, which we're not going to talk too much about that. But it's basically, has tie-ins to something called Acts of Vengeance, which was some kind of comic event. I have no idea what the hell it was about. Basically, this is back when Eric Masterson, I think that was his name, was Thor. The guy who eventually became Thunderstrike. Which we reviewed like a Thunderstrike graphic novel. So what happens is some guy who was obviously Loki frees Juggernaut from his prison, and Thor fights him. But because Thor is like, you know, having seizures for some reason. Here, by the way, this is Cord, one of the guys who works for Night Thrasher. They made him white in this issue, these two issues, which is like, what? So yeah, this has the New Warriors fighting Kane Marco in a two-parter, which was actually pretty cool. Though I was kind of like, how they eventually beat him was like, basically Thor sends him to, like, you know, teleports him somewhere in like space or a different dimension, and like you would think Juggernaut would freak out, but he's like, hey, I don't recognize this place. Where am I? Bah, it doesn't really matter. I'll eventually find my way home and get Thor. Nothing can stop the Juggernaut. What? How are you gonna walk yourself home, man? You're out in fucking space. Like, are you shitting me? Oh my god. So this is issue 2, where we get more of Night Thrasher's backstory, kinda. We get the origin story for his scar on his cheek, which was, I'm like, was that in the first issue, in previous issues? And I went back and checked, and yes, he did have a scar on his face. So basically, in this issue, this guy called Nightfire kills 3 like cops and kind of blames it on the Night Thrasher. And we find out that Night Thrasher, before he donned the costume, teamed up with the Midnight Fire and his sister Silhouette, which he was in love with. And basically, what happens is they were trying to take down his gang. His Silhouette went undercover, and she and you have the thing where, like, you know, a cop sees this, and Night Thrasher thinks, oh, he's gonna kill the cop, right, to save his sister. And yeah, the cop gets killed. So does one of the punks, and you think Silhouette dies, but it turns out she didn't die. So yeah, they have this final confrontation with Midnight Fire, and you find out the sister is still alive, actually. Yeah. Which I thought this guy had superpowers. Apparently he doesn't have superpowers, which is like, what? That makes no sense how he was basically like taking on the team at first by themselves. Oh, whatever. Well, they didn't really show that too much of the fight. So next we have Gene Tech are the bad guys here, whatever. Well, they're not really bad guys, but they're basically a corporation that's like experimenting with, you know, genetic research, and they hired the Mad Thinker and his robot assistant Primus to gather info on the New Warriors. Which I wouldn't call this a filler issue, but it was a good issue where we find out more about the New Mutants, and you think the Mad Thinker's a bad guy, but it turns out, oh no, he actually wants to help them and warn them about the gene tech, because they're working on research to create superhumans, which, like, holy crap, the superhumans they make. So yeah, our characters, Storm, Gene Tech. We find out this guy's backstory, which he turns out he was rejected for the Super Soldier project, and that made him like found a company that to create, you know, supervillains. So not supervillains, superhumans. So there's the roster, which, like, holy crap, this character, she's an ex-stripper who's into S&M. And they decide to give that girl superpowers. Are you crazy? Oh my god. So they fight her, and she's like, yes, don't stop. And it's like, oh Christ. So this was kind of a dumb issue. This is issue 5. This was a two-parter about this character named Star Thief, who is going around destroying rockets because he doesn't want humanity to go into the stars, which you find out why he doesn't want that. Basically, something happened to his family, and Vance Astrowick, which that's his real name, is like, oh, so dumb. Marvel Boy wants to stop them, right? Which, oh my, I just realized why he calls himself Marvel Boy, because he basically has the same powers as, like, as Jean Grey, who was Marvel Girl. Oh my, I just realized that. But she had telepathy too, didn't she? I can't remember. Which, by the way, they call Nova Kid Nova. And it's like, what fucking sense does that make to call him Kid Nova when he's the original Nova? Oh my god. Which, obviously Nova doesn't like that. So yeah, there's also a B plot where there's a Stain Enterprise wants to launch a rocket into space that has chemical waste, and for some reason Nemorita thinks that's a bad idea, which is like, what? Why would that be a bad idea? To, instead of dumping chemicals in the oceans or some landfill or whatever, they want to dump it to space, but for some reason they want to stop that, right? So yeah, our characters are there to stop this guy from blowing up the rocket ship, because obviously it would be very bad for these chemicals to be, you know, to just be like spreading out into the, you know, the sky and whatever. Oh my god. So what happens is that some of our characters with the villain gets launched into space, and it turns out oh yeah, Stain Enterprise wasn't just launching that into space, they were launching it at the moon, where the Inhumans are at, which also the Watchers that, because they wanted to destroy the moon base, because they want to take it over. So yeah, which they actually do explain here why it would be a bad idea to dump, chemical waste into space, because it could float back down to the atmosphere or whatever, right? Or it could be, or the barrels or whatever could eventually break, and it would affect the ozone layer or whatever. We get cameoed by the Watcher. So yeah, that's it. There's some sketches, there's some bonus material. There's this. I hate this shit. I didn't even bother to read it. So what I think about this graphic novel, I don't like Night Thrasher. I don't know why he's supposed to be the leader of the team. He has no superpowers. By the way, he carries a skateboard, and the skateboard is useless. And somehow, during the fight with Kane Marco and Terrax, he was able to ride around the skateboard, even though the ground was super uneven, which is like, holy fuck, that looks so dumb, man. And Night Thrasher also has a thing where he has anger issues and goes into like a berserker rage. And our characters have to stop him from killing people and whatever, which is like, oh my god, like Night Thrasher. I don't know why people like this character. I really don't. He's like the worst member of the team, in my opinion, and he's supposed to be the leader. And then there's like at one point, him and like the people who work for Night Thrasher are talking, and they're talking about Speedball, and they're like, why is Speedball on the team? Why is Speedball on the team? Why is this guy who has no superpowers, who is unreliable, on the team? He has actual superpowers that would be useful if he properly knew how to use them. Right. So yeah, other than that, I really did enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to reading Volume 2. And I don't know, maybe I'll look into getting the omnibuses. Who knows? So 7 out of 10, good read. I don't know what I'm going to review next, and probably maybe I'll review this, this is not porn, by the way. It's supposed to be like a heavy metal style anthology comic book. So yeah, that's it for this review, guys. Peace out.